Miss Idara Phillips, welcome to Keys to Success.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Of course, anytime. Let's start off with what the name of your business is.
So I have a bookkeeping and accounting firm, and it's called ZIP Business Services.
Perfect. And how did you get into that accounting?
I started working in accounting back in 1999, and I kind of just fell into it. I started off working as a receptionist, and an opening came up in the accounting department. I was really good with working with different like office applications, Excel, Word, those type of things. And at that time, back then, nobody really knew how to use those apps. So the accountant actually left where I was working. I was working at the San Jose Business Journal, and the operations manager came up to me and told me if I could she said, "You're really good with computer apps." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty good at figuring them out." And she said, "Good." She said, "The accountant just left, and I don't know how to use that accounting system. If you could figure out how to run her last paycheck, I could train you to be an accountant and you can have her job." And I was like, "Seriously?" She's like, "Seriously." So I went home that night. I read the whole accounting manual of how to use that accounting platform they were using. I came back the next day and I said, "Can you log me onto her computer?" And she's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "You told me if I learned how to run her check, I can have her job. And I stay up all night reading the manual. I could run her check. I want her job." So I just kind of, from there, I went on and became accounts payables clerk, and then went into a lot of accounting operations. I was an accounting assistant. I was a student at Santa Clara University at the same time. So I was a business major. I was only in my junior year. I actually ended up working full time and I stopped going to school, but that's how I came into accounting. And then I've just been increasing my knowledge and trying to move up since then.
Wow. Okay. Few questions I have about that, but let's start off. Where are you from?
I'm from San Jose, California.
San Jose.
Born and raised, and I moved out here. I'm in Oak Grove, California now, and I moved out here about 2-3 years ago.
Okay, and so you grew up in San Jose. So we know how you got into the business. Is that what inspired you? Was it an inspiration, or was it just an opportunity that you capitalized on?
It was an opportunity. Ugh. Actually, I never took an accounting class, and before I became an accountant. When I was in college, everybody was like, "Ooh, you're a business major. Don't take accounting because that's like the hardest class you could ever take." So I avoided them.
Wow.
And then when I got the position, it clicked. So I decided to pursue my career in accounting because it made sense to me. Like I just have a natural talent. The theories, the work, I could look at spreadsheets, I can work on reconciliations. I knew how to do debit and credits before I knew what I was doing. And so it's kind of come second nature to me. And so I decided to just, pursue a career in something that was like a talent, rather than pushing myself to do something else. I was actually studying a different type of business and I switched over to accounting.
Wow. Okay. So how did you get to the point that you're at in your career right now? Can you tell us a little bit about your journey through college and what you had to go through to get to where you are now?
Okay. So as I said, I started off at Santa Clara University. I was actually agricultural business major.
Wow.
And I really wanted to be a veterinarian, and I wasn't able to leave to go to school to be a veterinarian. I wanted to go to UC Davis, which is like why I'm up here, because I've always wanted to be in the Sacramento area since I was a little kid. So I was an agricultural business major. I was super into like animal science, you know, farming, that kind of stuff when I was young. And then I switched over and I started taking some accounting classes after I became an accountant, just so I could become more proficient in what I was doing. I also ran into the fact that after a few years of being an accountant, I wasn't able to promote up because I didn't have my accounting degree. So after I had my daughter, when I was 25, 26, I decided to go back to school and try to finish my degree. And during that whole time, I was working as an accountant. I was an operations manager, but I never had I wasn't able to achieve the level that I wanted to achieve in the business world without my degree. And so I actually have my undergrad degree in business administration. When I went in for accounting, it was impacted, and they told me it was going to be like 2 years to get my accounting undergrad degree. So I was like, in 2 years, I could finish the degree. So I already had a lot of business credit. So I finished my undergrad degree in business administration. But I always was taking accounting classes at the junior colleges and stuff, just because I knew I didn't want to lose my accounting skills. And I wanted to keep up to date with all the different changes that were going on in accounting. So I was all over the Bay Area, different colleges, Evergreen, De Anza, Foothill, San Jose City, all the colleges, any college I could find that had an accounting class that I hadn't taken, I was taking that while I was doing my undergrad. And then when I graduated with my undergrad degree, I transferred to St. Mary's in Moraga, and I did the Master's of Accounting program there.
Wow. Okay. So I just want to bring the fact, we had a previous conversation. You're doing all of this classwork and taking these classes as a single mother? Yeah. Can you tell a little bit about that? Because that was very interesting to me, how you explained it to me.
So yeah, I went back to school. Well, actually, when I went back to school after my daughter was born, she was about a year or 2 years old. This accountant over here was maybe one of the reasons I decided to really learn accounting was because I wasn't really good with finances when I was younger. And so I kind of was sheltered from like the whole world and that whole responsibility of like managing your money. So I actually got behind in my student loans and I defaulted on my loan. When I went back to Santa Clara to try to finish up like my last year and a half, they told me I had to pay off my whole loan before I could re-enroll or before I could take my transcripts out. Wow. And so I was a single mom, I had like a year and a half old daughter. I was like, and it was like $40,000. And I was like, I don't have $40,000. And I thought about it and I said, you know what? I could go back to school and do my schooling all over again before I could come up with $40,000. So I actually re-enrolled into the community colleges and I did my undergrad all over again, starting from a freshman. So I did my undergrad twice. And I did it like 2 classes at a time. I'm always telling people, go to school, even if you can't do it full time, 1 class a semester, 1 class a quarter. Eventually you're going to look back and you're going to be like, oh, I already have 6 classes done. You know, oh, I already have 10 classes done. I'm a sophomore now. I got another 10 classes done. I'm a junior now. So there was times when I only took 1 class, 2 classes, depending on what was going on with myself or my daughter. I was working the whole time, so I had to take classes as they fit in with my, my work schedule. But eventually, I was able to look back and be like, hey, I only have 3 more classes and I'm going to graduate. And so I did it. It took me a long time, but I got it done. I graduated with my undergrad in 2013. I started college in 1997. So it took me almost 16 years to get my degree, but I never gave up. And I think that's the most important thing is like, if you have a goal in mind, like never give up on your goals. By doing that though, I was able to get a lot of hands-on experience. So by the time I had my degree, I had already been working for 16 years, right? So I had been working either as an accountant or like in operations, admin assistant, payroll assistant, operations coordinators, or now it would be like an operations analyst, like all these analyst positions are equivalent to what I used to do back then. so I already had the hands-on skill, and I had the technical know-how, and I had the knowledge, and then I had the degree. And then I decided to, but I wanted to go back into accounting. Like I wanted a job as like a senior accountant, as a controller. Like that was where I wanted to go, because accounting came second nature to me. So when the senior accountants would get stuck on something, they would be like, Idara, can you look at this? And I would be able to look at it before ever taking an accounting class and being like, here's your problem right here, blah, 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 blah.
Wow.
And then I was a payroll clerk. I would see their pay and I'm like, their pay's 3 times as much as mine. And I would go to my managers and they would be like, well, yeah, but they have a degree. And I'm like, but I solve all their problems. I do half of their work for them. They're like, but they have a degree. So I knew where I wanted to go.
Right.
and so even then, once I had my bachelor's, people were like, well, how do I know you know accounting? And I'm like, because I've been doing it for so long. They're like, but your position was really low. So I decided, okay, then I'm going to go back and get a master's so people could see really that I know what I'm talking about. And so I have my master's, and I'm actually like a CPA candidate. So I just have to sit for my exams. I've done everything else, but I have a family. So I've actually done most of this while having, I did my undergrad with 1 kid. I did my master's program with 2. Now I have 5. And so I'm trying to balance work, life, and kids. And it's exciting, especially right now in these times when there's school closed and you have a house full of kids and you're trying to run your own business. But it's interesting. But I did it all as a single mom. And I hope that I can also inspire people to, keep going after your dreams and never give up. And even if it's like 1 class at a time, you take 1 class at a time, that's, 2 classes a year. And after a couple of years, you'll be halfway there. So.
Amazing. That is simply outstanding. What is so now that you're here now and we're in this sort of rut, what is your outlook on the trends of the business in the future, in the near future, and going forward, I should say?
I'm sorry.
No problem.
In business in general?
In the accounting field.
Or in my accounting field?
Well, I should say from your perspective as an accountant.
Okay, so I can say in my field,
Mm-hmm.
we many of us were very prepared for what's going on right now, because our industry's changed over the last years. So accounting went from being, we were actually manually doing things in ledgers, and doing calculations and working in spreadsheets. Mm-hmm. And it became very computerized, and there's a lot of software now. And so our roles as accountants have changed over, I would say, at least like the last 5 years, where accountants have gone from someone that you would think would be a number cruncher to more of someone in a consultant role. For example, before it would take me hours to do a bank rec, and now I can do a bank rec in 5 minutes, right? Because I can sync my software to the bank and download all the bank information. So I'm not having to manually enter anything into the computer. And then I just move things around with the click of a mouse, and because of that, the way we bill has changed. So we don't really, a lot of accountants don't bill by the hour anymore. We bill based on the value that we bring to our clients, because I'm still doing the same amount of work, but it's because of technology, it doesn't take me as long. And so I can get the work done. And then I go back to my clients, and now I'm spending more time explaining to them, what I found, how it affects their business, how they can change their business, how their business can grow. And so a lot of the manual part of accounting has disappeared. Also with the software, a lot of the internet, the software is now in the cloud. So before, like, I use QuickBooks. That's the primary accounting system I use. I know other systems from work, like if I worked in different industries, they would have different systems, but myself, when I'm working with my clients, I use QuickBooks. When I used to use QuickBooks Desktop, my clients had the QuickBooks on their computer. They would do their regular day-to-day stuff. I would come in and I would, either work on their computer, or I would put it on a USB, take it home, clean it up, reconcile it, bring it back to them, put it back on their USB. And then I would overwrite their file with my file that was corrected. Now it's in the cloud, so my clients and I can both be working on their stuff at the same time. It's also changed where if I had clients who didn't have an accounting system, say I had QuickBooks and I was doing everything for them, they would have to call me and say, Idara, can I get a profit and loss? Idara, can you send me a report of everyone who needs to, all my outstanding receivables and all the customers I need to send out statements to, or bills, or can you give me a copy of this invoice? I was doing everything for them because I was the only one with access to the accounting system. Or I was having to go into their office because they were the only ones with access to the accounting system. Now, with it being in the cloud, you can have multiple people in the same accounting system at the same time. So what that does is it empowers the business owners to have ownership over their information, right? If you need a report, you're not having to wait for me to get it to you. And the same thing, it's empowered accountants to work remotely from home. So we don't have to go into the office. We don't have to go into your office just to get a copy of your invoices. You can now upload them to like a shared drive, and you can send me all your paperwork. So a lot of accountants have gone to this wireless, I have a headset. I have, I've been using Zoom. I've been trying to get all my stuff in the cloud for the last couple of years. I had a couple people who were resistant to it. They now have no choice because we can't see each other face to face.
Right.
But I had all the systems in place already for a time like this. So I think that right now it's really a time for a lot of accountants. I think that might be one of the reasons we're able to help people right now, and businesses and business owners, is because a lot of us were already prepared for this part. We were already prepared. We were already working at home. We already had, the systems in place and the third-party apps. And I have, ways to communicate and chat. I have the systems and procedures in place to work from home, to work virtually, to never see anyone, to have the workflow, and that I can help a lot of people at the same time. So, that's how the industry's changing. And that's also how the industry's doing right now as far as with the COVID-19, because also, like I said, we've changed from being manually doing things to using technology to get the work done, and then consulting. And so right now, a lot of people need advice, right? They need advice on what to do. They need someone to look at their financial situation and help them decide what's the best next steps, or, maybe create a template and then give them a cash flow projector, or help them create a budget. But that's a lot of coaching and a lot of talking, not a lot of like manual work. So our industry's changed in a way that actually benefits us and a lot of other people right now.
Wow. Yeah, because it actually, from what you're saying, it seems like if the accounting industry wasn't already moving towards that, or actually set up to do business virtually, then right now, if this were to happen and you guys weren't set up like that, it would be a huge, bigger problem than it is right now. Yeah,
it would. I'm in a lot of accounting forums and things, and we just laugh. We're like, oh, the rest of the world's catching up now. So, being in the house all day doing my work, there's nothing different to me except for I have my kids here. So I'm trying to keep them quiet during calls. But besides that, that is the only thing that is different with my work. And, I have more people to help because of all the programs that are coming out, and I'm trying to help people, but I was totally set up for this. And it's also good because we're able, like I said, we've gone into this advisory role. And so we're able to help our clients set themselves up, right? I work with businesses, so I'm able to help businesses. I have people that are like, I don't know how to use Zoom. I'm like, here, let me show you, I don't know how to do this, or I don't know, helping people set up, drives, like Google Drives and things like that. Those are ways of communication that I've been doing, and it's been in the industry for years. So now all of these tools and resources, I can, help people find the best application for this whatever situation they're in, or you know, I'm trying to do this, and I'm like, there's an app for that, and I can guide people. And it's because we've actually been trying trial and error in our industry for the last few years and trying to figure out the best ways to work remotely. So right now, accountants are really, you know, a really good resource to have, because we've been working remotely for a few years, especially if you go to like accounting, bookkeeping, the smaller firms. But even the large firms, a lot of people, you know, their employees work from home. They do virtual meetings and conferences. So we not only do we know that part of it, we know a lot of like how to get you set up remotely, how to manage workflows. We have a lot of, you know, applications where you can manage your workflow and stay on task and make sure everything's, you know, you're meeting all your deadlines.
Right.
Because right now it's hard. When you're working from home, it's hard to stay focused sometimes. And so you need those little reminders and tools to keep you, you know, coordinated.
Right.
And
Perfect. Yeah, that's crazy. So since you've been in the accounting industry, you mentioned about like the barriers with you having to get your master's just to be recognized as somebody, you know, to be recognized that you're worth your hire. You know, so what has been the biggest challenges for minorities in the accounting business that you've seen, if there's any, and especially minority women, being a minority woman? How's that go?
Honestly, there's not very many of us, especially African American women in accounting. It was actually a sigh of relief when I went to St. Mary's. There were a few of us in my program, and it was actually the first time I wasn't the only Black person in an accounting class. So all the way through, you know, all the different classes I took and all the different colleges, and I took a lot. When I actually went to my master's program, I was able to skip like the first 2 sessions. So the first 6 classes, because I had taken that many extra accounting classes just on my own. So I'm going to all the different colleges that offer them. So I was in a lot of classes, and I've never been in a class with someone who looked like me until I went to St. Mary's. So I give them props for that, because it is diverse. But even then, like sometimes I think you can grow up in a bubble, and you can like, so I even kind of grew up in a bubble. I grew up in the Bay Area. It's very diverse, right? I grew up in a predominantly minority area. So yeah, I might have known that there was racism and things like that out there in the world, but I never really had to deal with it face to face, right? Once I was done with my master's program, we had a lot of recruiters actually come on campus, and you get recruited, and most people want to go to a big accounting firm. And I ran into like a couple things there, and it was like a real big eye opener. Was they were offering these jobs. Now I'm a single mom, and I'm finishing with my master's, but I have a job and I've been working. So they were offering me jobs that were like starting pay of $50,000 a year. And you kind of have to take these jobs, especially if you want to go onto the track of becoming a CPA. You have to kind of get into a firm. And well, I was making more than $50,000 a year working. So I'm like, I'm going to take a pay cut. How am I going to survive? How am I going to pay for daycare? And then I was also like, I can't do that. So they're like, well, you know, we have an office in Texas that's opening, or we have an office in Nebraska that's opening. I'm like, I can't move to Nebraska. Like, it's not even about moving. It's just about culturally, like, do you know how much racism I'm going to have to deal with going into this firm? I know I'm going to be the only person that looks like me in there. And that was like the first time where it was really like, I saw the barrier that my race presented. I was lucky enough that when I first started at my first job, the person who trained me, she's an African-American woman. So I didn't really realize the barrier that was there, because the person who brought me into accounting was an African-American woman. She was like the chair of the California CPA Association a couple years ago. So she's like really high up there in the accounting world. So I didn't see that barrier until I decided to try to pursue my career, and I saw that I might have to move. And I went to the recruiting events, and I was like, I can't take my kids out there. The racism we're going to have to endure is not worth the fact that all the jobs pay $50,000 a year, regardless of what state you went to. So $50,000 in other states is a lot of money where it's not that much here, right? So I actually was like, I can't do it. And I ended up having to not take an internship and not take a position in some of the jobs I was offered. I didn't go to an accounting firm. And I think that the race part played a big role in it, because the only way I was going to be able to survive was to go out of state. And I couldn't go out of state because I was not ready to endure that racism that I knew I would endure out of state. And so I chose to go into government accounting, and I became a tax auditor. It paid a little bit, it paid more, but it wasn't going to put me on the track to get my CPA the way that going to a firm would. But I knew that because my kids are biracial, I knew that they wouldn't deal with a lot of that racism that we would hit outside going into the places where they were offering me jobs. The diversity wasn't there. So, and it wasn't there within within the recruiters. It wasn't there when I would do visits. No one in the office. I was just the town. It was like the whole community. It's very much a traditional non-minority, non-woman run business. There are more minorities coming in. There's more women. You see more women as partners. You see more minorities as partners, but they're few and far between. And so most firms, the firms are run by partners. So what I tried to look for a place where I would feel comfortable, not only gain knowledge, but feel comfortable working. I had to actually decide not to go to an accounting firm, which it puts me back in my career as far as where I could go. But that's why I decided to start my own business.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you think that was the best, looking back, do you think that was the best course of action?
It's always hard to say. It's hard to say if what you did was, it was best. They say hindsight's 2020, you look back and you're like, oh, maybe I should have sucked it up for a couple of years. But where I was then, I like where I am now, because I'm doing something that I really like. I think if I hadn't gone to work as a tax auditor and had that experience, I wouldn't have started my business. Now, my business that I started is one of the reasons I chose to actually I was working in accounting, and then when I became a single mom, I was a really hands-on single mom. So I wanted to be able to still be a hands-on single mom and provide for my family. That was one of the other reasons why I was like, I'll go back and get my degree, and I'll go back and get my accounting degree, because I knew that you could work as an accountant from home. And I knew that I could run my own business. And I've always wanted to have my own business since I was a little kid. I mean, I think I was in the 3rd grade when I started the school store. I used to go to I used to go to Newberry's and Woolworth and buy pencils and erasers and stuff and sell them to kids. Oh, wow. And so I've always been that kid who was just I'm trying to make some money. I was in 4th grade and had $100. My mom was like, how'd you have $100? I was like, every single time you give me $1, I save half of it. And so I've always been that person. So I was like, with this field, I could work from home. I know that I would be able to do something where I could still have my business, run my own business, and take care of my kids. Right. And have the flexibility to, if they have an event going at school, I can go and be at that event. If I can go volunteer, because I'm going to make my own schedule. I'll be my own boss. And then when I went to the government, I was at that time, my mindset was move up in your career, right? And then I actually started to, after a year or so working in the government, I loved it, but I was the bad guy. I was the bad guy when I went in. When I would come in, I'm a happy person, and I'm also very helpful. And so I would come in, I'm like, hi, how are you? And they're like, you're a tax auditor, what do you want? And after a while, I was like, gosh, nobody likes me. No one ever smiles So when I walk through the door, I get these looks. If I'm friendly, people are like, she's trying to kind of, she's trying to catch us up on saying, she's trying to catch me, she's just waiting for me to slip and say something wrong. And so after a while, I was like, maybe this is like not the best thing to do. And in the auditing world, they would say like, okay, you're going to go to the other side, right? Which is helping the businesses versus like, because I work with businesses, so I audited businesses. It would be helping the businesses versus auditing them. And so when I moved out here, I decided to go to the other side, like completely. I've always helped businesses because I always had that accounting background. People I knew would be like, oh, I started a business. And I'll be like, I'll help you. Oh, my books are a mess. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, Tuesday I don't have class. I'll go help you. So I've been doing bookkeeping forever. But it was always like a gig. It was always like something I did on the side, right? And then when I moved out here, I decided to not go back into government accounting, not go back into auditing. And then I also decided to start my own business and do it full time, which was like, it's scary because I'm used to having a paycheck and I have kids. So if I don't do it right, it's not even just affecting me, it's affecting, my kids that I have to take care of. But I'm happier. And if I hadn't gone into government accounting, I probably would not have started my business, even though starting a business was one of the first reasons I went into the field, because I didn't like not being able to help people. Like if I open up someone's accounting records and I'm looking through them and I see that their tax bill is twice as much as it needs to be just because things were categorized wrong or a certain rule or law wasn't applied correctly, I want to tell them and be like, hey, correct this, it'll reduce your bill. But as a tax auditor, I can't do that. But in my firm, I can. That's what people pay me for. So I'm able to help people with my knowledge. Versus being the bad guy and using my knowledge to be like, haha, you missed that. And now you have a big bill.
That's wild. That's definitely interesting. What is the name of your accounting firm again and the website so people can know?
My accounting firm is ZIP Business Services. The Z's for my kids. Their names start with Z's. And the IP is for me, Idara Phillips. So
all of the kids' names start with Z?
Yeah.
That's cool.
My kids, my godkids, my best friend and I decided like in the 10th grade, we're going to name our kids' names as Z's. And we actually did it. So there's a lot of Z's and I'm hoping that I can pass down this business to one of them. I hope one of them will decide that they want to, study business and accounting. There's like between my kids and my godkids and there's like 9 Z kids. So it's VIP Business Services and we do like accounting, consulting, a lot of different things that have to do with business. Like I said, I've been working for 20 years, so I've gained a lot of knowledge. So I'm an accountant, but I do a lot of other stuff, things that businesses just need to keep them busy and keep them working and productive and, profitable, and your systems and procedures and, computers, IT, all kinds of different things. That's what I do. That's why I didn't name it ZIP accounting, because I do more than just accounting. I'm here to give businesses all the services that they need. And if I don't know it, then I'll find someone who can. And you can just use me as a resource.
Okay. And that's zipbs.com?
Yeah.
zipbs.com. And if someone wants to reach out to you and get information, can I put your information at the bottom of this video?
Yeah, they can email me. You can always email me. My email is info@zipbs.com. Or you can call our phone number. It's 916-222-9992. And you can also visit the website. The website has links to contact us, links to the phone number. And there's also links to book consults. I do free consults for businesses. So I do free 30-minute consults. And so there's that link on there and it puts you directly into my calendar where you can book some time.
Perfect. And at the moment we have the COVID thing going on. Is there a link on your website to the resource package that you offer, or can we put that link down to the Google Drive on this video too?
Okay, there is. So I have been working a lot with the community as far as COVID-19 resources. This is kind of our accountant time to shine with all the different programs going on, or even if you don't want a program, just, cash flow, budgeting, trying to figure out how to keep your business afloat during these times. Or if your business is booming right now, I do know people who their businesses are booming, like people that clean, housekeeping services, they're in high demand. And even then, it's just like, budgeting and making sure that you have all your systems in place. So I have a lot of resources, and I have a COVID-19 page on my page. So it has a link on there to a database I've been putting together. And I spend a couple hours every day researching what's going on. And I'm just put resources, and I've opened up a share drive, and you can go on there and you can look up. I have, literature. I have a PowerPoint slide that I do with businesses to go over their different options. I have links to a lot of the different government programs that are going on. And if I find, good handouts or good little just flyers or information booklets about what's going on, I'm posting everything. So people don't have to spend hours every day doing it. You can just go to one place and kind of look and see. And then I always try to lead back to the original source. So I'm getting almost everything off of government websites, not third-party places, because you want to get your information from the source as close as you can so that it's correct. There's no misinterpretation. So if the government comes out with a new criteria for a PPP loan, I take it and I post it in that share drive. And then I'll archive the oldest ones, so that way people have like the most up-to-date information, and they're not reading a rule or a law that was from like a week or two ago, because everything's changing day by day right now with this current situation.